comes out, it will come out in hardcover, because this book is going to have the most incredible synthesis of all the hard scientific data that I've put together to make this 2012 case that I've ever assembled under one roof. You're not ever going to be able to find it this complete and this thorough on my website. It's only going to be available in the book. And again, the book is not very expensive, so I don't need people hating on me about the fact that this is going to be something that we sell. The fact of the matter is that we all have a right to make money doing what we love. And what I love is to give spiritual teaching, but if I don't make money on it, then I can't do it. And so it's one of the most ridiculous things we see on the internet when people start attacking over such a trivial thing as paying $20 for a book or something. The fact of the matter is that we do exchange money as a form of exchanging value and energy. And so exchanging money with someone is a way of showing appreciation. It's a way of supporting the good effort that the person is making. And it's a way of helping to expand a consciousness that we can all be a part of. The mainstream world has not been delivering us with what we need in terms of higher consciousness. And so one of the things I found the most silly was these people who thought that I was rich because of whatever, that I had a housekeeper or that I, have a house with a mountain view. The fact of the matter is I do live in California. The housekeeper is part of the rent. And I found a place that is cheap because it's way remote from everything else in Los Angeles. So it's not as simple as you might make it out to be. Even if I were wealthy, that's not a bad thing either, because the fact of the matter is my website shows that almost everything I do is free. Granted, there are going to be things like the 2012 book that take pieces of my data and put them all together under one roof. But the vast majority of everything is freely released. And in every case, as more money comes in, the money gets circulated into things that will help people on larger and larger levels. So I have a comprehensive plan of what I will do if more money becomes available, and that includes having more staff to be able to put videos together, and a large number of those videos are also going to be free and they're going to be released. In fact, there is a demo reel that we're in the process of putting together to help promote the 2012 Enigma book to foreign publishers so that we can get foreign rights worked out for this book. And that's something that my publisher asked me to do. We had to make those YouTube videos public in order for my publisher to be able to watch them. And just in a matter of like a day and a half, people have found it from Google searches and they're starting to post it all around, even though it's not the final edit. And they really enjoy what we're doing. Well, that's the kind of thing that you need to finance. And so again, if you see people out there that are attempting to discredit me because we actually are not living on no money at all, that's pretty silly. The fact of the matter is that the youthful generation especially is very, very angry about the New World Order, the Illuminati, the corporate media, the oligopoly that has basically taken control of this planet. And as a result of that, what they seem to want is a cashless society, a society without money, because, let's face it, in modern society right now, it's very difficult to make money anything above the minimum to maintain some basic standard of living. Many, many people's jobs are only just enough to keep them above starvation and keep them in a place that they can live. This is not a time in our planet's history where abundance is a common phenomenon. With that being said, remember what I was telling you about before. If you have an issue where you are not in loving yourself on an intrinsic level, the universe does not send people to you who love you. They will often send people to you who are oppressors, who disrespect you, who deny you your rights. But as I said, there are no paradoxes. No situation is permanent. On a global level, the reason why these New World Order and Illuminati types are out there is because we have invited them to be there. In fact, when you study their philosophy, you realize that they are very keen on making sure that everything that they do is something that they are being requested to do, that they are being allowed to do. Because no one stops them, no one even notices what's going on. So one of the things they like to do is to hide out in the open, so to speak, which means that they will put together various clues and then distribute those clues right out in the open to show you who they are and what they're up to. The case in point, one of many, is the symbol on the backside of the dollar bill in American currency, which clearly shows a pyramid. Why is there a pyramid associated with American history? Why is there an obelisk in the middle of Washington, D.C. as the Washington Monument? Why would they represent the first president of the United States with an Egyptian obelisk? We see these things, they're put right out in front of our face, but we don't question them. We don't question why the Statue of Liberty has this curious crown on that looks like rays of sunlight coming out at the top of her head. Well, that's actually a symbol for the Egyptian goddess Isis, and the Washington Monument is a symbol for actually the severed phallus of the Egyptian god Osiris. So you have Isis and Osiris as two of the most prominent symbols in the American system in terms of actual large sculptures that we see here in the country that are identifiable. So what's really going on? Well, they've never hidden it from you. It's very clear that they're obsessed with Egypt. They're obsessed with ancient mystery school teachings. They put out this stuff all over the place. There's a Masonic order that clearly is showing you the square and compass, which is the basic tools used in order to create geometry. So there's a very basic geometry component to this sacred science. And the geometry is why they're identified with buildings in the first place. Masons are those who build buildings. And so, in truth, what they talk about is Solomon's Temple, which is actually the underlying belief that we have an energy body and that we are building that energy body. So the Masons will say that they are building or rebuilding Solomon's Temple. And that's a metaphor for us creating a light body within ourselves. The symbol on the back of the dollar bill starts at the top with the words Annuit Septus, and that means God has favored our origins, or God has looked with favor on our beginnings. So that's talking about the origin of the United States. Of course, freedom has been a very important part of this country, and it's been written into the Constitution in a way that some other countries don't have, and that also clearly establishes the right for each person to believe how they want to believe, to not be confined to a theocracy where they're forced to have a certain religious persuasion. It's really in alignment with the divine truth as I understand it and as the Law of One has explained it, that we are all here to have our own experiences, and the only universal standard, the only real law in the universe is free will. Now again, free will is something that you can break if you want to, but when you start infringing on other people's free will, that's when the universe responds by giving you what most people now call karma, meaning that you will meet with an experience that is the same as what you've created. But let's also not forget that when you act in an unloving way towards yourself, when you disrespect yourself, you are attracting other people who will disrespect you. And that's the universe's way of giving you a mirror that will allow you to see the issues within yourself that have remained unhealed. So I'll make a rather dramatic case in order to illustrate what I'm talking about. There have been in history many, many families in which there is some sort of secret sexual abuse going on. And it can actually be incestuous, in which, for example, a father is molesting his daughter. And this only happens maybe seldomly, but when it does happen, it's never talked about, or she may be threatened, and it becomes this really, really dark secret. And this man, whoever he might be, actually does things like this, or in other cases maybe there's just violent verbal abuse, yelling, hitting, for example, things like that. And the person goes on basically thinking that they're a good person. I have worked with trauma and sexual abuse counseling because that's what my degree was in, psychology. And I also spent a year on a suicide hotline, and so of course we had all the rape crisis intervention training. And one of the things you learn is that most of the time these abusers, when it comes to sexual abuse, will say something like, well, you need to learn about this. You need to learn about this before you get any older and you have sex with someone else. So there's all sorts of justifications that are made, and these justifications people actually believe. And so what they can end up doing is going through life and basically thinking that they're a good person and not really seeing the things that they've done as being bad. They might be very abusive. They might be verbally abusive. They might create an utterly miserable life for the people they love, and yet honestly believe that everything that they're doing is for that person's own better good. That they're getting angry because that person has done things that